Well, dear friends, first of all, very good morning. Namo Buddhaya Jai Bhim, and my all respect to our ideal Tathagat Bhagavan Buddha, Bodhisattva Babasaheb Ambedkar, Savitri Mai, Jyotiba Phule, and of course, it's such a great pleasure to have legacy from Dr. Ambedkar himself. And nothing can please us better than having such presence on this wonderful occasion. As Smita Dai said, we are celebrating, it's a tripartite celebration of the Buddha, Bodhisattva Babasaheb Ambedkar, and Rashtrapita Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. And I'm so happy to have my friend Terry from Harvard University here, and he will speak, of course, and my friend Lalit, Bhanteji, and all friends. I think the world we are experiencing today is very different than what it was before even a decade ago. And we are passing through extreme turbulence. As Buddha very rightly said, the world is on fire, and literally world is on fire. And there are very few attempts in the world who are progressing towards seizing this fire. May that be across boundaries, countries, or within races, castes, and various communities. So I think this is so important event, and I deeply congratulate Anna for this. I'm not going to speak for a long time. I have only 10 to 15 minutes, and I will respect that time. So I want to say something very sort of precise, focused, what I felt today I should share with you. And title I have designed is Who Was the Buddha? And answer from Ambedkar. And this is a Vesak month when Buddha attained an enlightenment, brought new light before 2500 years ago, which is new in many ways, and which was revolutionary in many ways. But when Dr. Ambedkar himself thought about the Buddha, that was a very unique revolution. I think world never experienced such deep religious transformative processes in the history of religion. Because we see this revival in Buddhist history come from mostly from the kings since history. May that be Samrat Ashok, Harshavardhan, Pala dynasty, or later Buddhist kings. And you see, this was the upsurgence of Christianity in Jewish period. That came from people. It didn't come from king. From the working lower class people. Jesus himself sort of fought against all odds in the religious institutionalization, and that's how the religious revival happened in sort of Middle East countries and then even Europe. So likewise, if I refer back that to Babasaheb's revival of Buddhism, I think this was the first time in history of Buddhism, the revival of Buddhism came from people, from downtrodden, from the roots. And you see that saline features in Babasaheb's talk, especially in Marathi, all the time. That I'm going back to my home. I'm not entering into a new religion. So he didn't say not this and yes this. He said as it is, as the Buddha said. The reality he spoke. And it was 1956, around early year of the 56. He invited an extremely important meeting in 26 Alipur Road. That was in year 1956. And he was very sick. He was passing through so many physical calamities in his body. He came with a very heavy body on the long table in 26 Alipur Road where he was residing. And he declared there that in the month of October, I am going to embrace Buddhism. And everyone was unhappy about it. Vaman Rao Godbole, Shankarananda Shastri, and everyone was unhappy about it. And they said, Baba Sahib, now you just wrote the manifesto for RPI, Republican Party of India, and now elections are there in 1957, that was the second election of independence. We are going to come into power and then our problems will be resolved. Why are you bringing religion in between? Then Baba Sahib said with very heavy heart that I don't think you understand the fullest vision of my revolution. Who knows if I is alive till 57 or not? And that was very true. He left us in December 56. And he said, if I do not add my last gift to the country, I don't think the civilizational transformation or the cultural transformation or the transformation among human relationship will come. So that's the vertical depth of transformation Dr. Ambedkar had, not just horizontal spread, not just mere popularity or the majoritarianism that the world is facing today, even in politics and social movement. Dr. Ambedkar was not belong to that thought. He wanted a realization and revolution from the bottom of heart. And he said even, caste is not a mental, it's not a physical problem. It's not a even political problem. It's not a social problem. It reflects in politics. It reflects in society terribly because you got that notion in your mind. You got that prejudice deep down in our heart. And that's how we behave. And he said that that mentality needs to destroy from Brahmins as well as from non-Brahmins. Even we as a privileged class might behave like Brahmins. Dr. Ambedkar didn't want that, and that answer was very clear to Gandhi. I do not want this or that. I want absolute equality. That's what he said. And when Bhanteji was talking that Buddhism or the Buddha is within you, and that's the equality we share. We all are shared Tathagata Garbha. We all have equal potential to be the Buddha. Buddha did not say, I am going to give you a moksha or nirvana. Moksha word we don't use. Nirvana or the Sambodhi. It's you who attain the Sambodhi. That's what Buddha himself did and he asked us to do. So that's the first answer of Baba Sahib. He was not Mokshadata, but he was a Margadata. That Atta-Deepa Bhava, you can attain yourself. These are not new words to you. And these are not new words to me. But Dhamma needs to be reminded again and again. Etam Mangalam Muttanam. Listening Dhamma all the time or again and again is a Mangal Muttamam. That's what the Buddha said. So therefore I am saying they are familiar words but important. Secondly, Baba Sahib said, he reminded Ananda's message in Dadar 1936 and also in 56. So that message Baba Sahib was giving at the last phase of his life. The same message Buddha gave in last phase of his life. He said, Ananda asked Buddha, Tathagat, you are passing now. You do not know the seriousness of that event. Have you heard of Sariputta and Moggalayan? ये नाम सुने आपने? Right? कौन पहले गया? Who passed before? Who died before the Buddha? Sariputta and Moggallana died before the Buddha. You know why? Of course, they died because of natural death. But Pali Canon suggests us, tells us, हमें बताता है, they could not imagine the world without Buddha. Because they lived in the presence of Buddha. अभी बुद्ध नहीं है. जब बुद्ध होते या बाबा साहब जब थे, वो दुनिया हमने एक्सपीरियंस नहीं किया. We haven't experienced when Baba Sahib was speaking like this, when Baba Sahib was walking, when he was inspiring people. We are not fortunate. There are some people still alive, and I am very happy. Dada, you are very active and bringing that message up to the people. So there are some memories we can carry in our mind. So we do not know how world looked like when Baba Sahib was alive. Now we are experiencing post-Ambedkarite world, right? We see him only in photos or carry in our heart. Likewise, Sariputta and Moggallana were dead shock. We cannot see passing of the Buddha, and they died with that shock, right? So when Ananda asked, who will be our Uttaradhikari? Who will be our successor? Dhammahi Dhammane Natho. Dhamma ही धम्म का नाथ है. Means Dhamma is a successor of Dhamma. So when people used to come to Baba Sahib and touch his feet, he used to slap them on his back. Say, don't worship me. That's not going to help me. You carry forward my work. And that's the cry he had. Deep down cry he had. Of course, we have to celebrate Baba Sahib. We have to say Jai Bhim. And we have to come together again and again. But we have to, as Thai said, we have to take his karma. There, that's where he will be happy. So that's the second answer from Dr. Ambedkar. He said, no hero worship. No hero worship. It's a collective effort. It's a sanghic effort. And I don't have to say much about it. Hero worship destroyed our own community. Hero worship destroyed our own nation. And hero worship is destroying everywhere in the country. And that's the message Baba Sahib has given through the Buddha. Look, Ananda, what Buddha said reply to Ananda. So that was the second answer. Who was the Buddha? That's what Baba Sahib said. Thirdly, my third answer is, if you read the future and the Buddha and future of his religion carefully, Dr. Ambedkar or Baba Sahib very systematically comparing the founders of other religions. And he said Buddha or the Siddhartha had no any supernatural claims. Supernatural claims means automatically arisen, the author of itself, right? Swayambhu. Is slightly different Abrahamic religion, the idea of God. But in Hindu religion or in the Indian religious system, God is a creator, and he is the creator of caste, like Rigveda's 10th mandala and Varnashrama Dharma and so on and so forth. I don't want to sort of go into that and kill my time. But Baba Sahib said Buddha was a human. He was a historical figure. He born out of Shuddhadhana and Mahamaya. He had no any other claim. So he was a historical figure. Born on this earth, lived a human life and passed through human phases and attained the enlightenment. And he became the Samyak Sambuddha. But there is a tricky answer here. Baba Sahib also said that my Buddha is sort of a universal, right? It's the beyond time and space. What does that mean? That means two things. If you need to recite again and again the founder's name for its religion, you become a victim of prophetism. Prophetism means, like Krishna said, I am the Devadi Dev. Right? If you surrender to me, I will give you liberation. So you do not depend on the founder of religion in that sense in Buddhism. He doesn't hold any controlling power to liberate you. Buddha doesn't hold that get pass. He doesn't hold any sort of key for the door to enter into the world of liberation. He said that key is within you. That key is in you. You unlock yourself. So he was answering in such a depth that my people should not become victim of prophetism. Second answer would be, if you need a privileged class to protect a religion, if you need a privileged class to protect any religion, then you become a victim of priesthood. किसी धर्म को संरक्षण करने के लिए विशेषाधिकार समूह की अगर जरूरत है तो वो धर्म पुरोहितवाद का बलि बन जाता है. मतलब these are not only Mahars who will protect Buddhism, right? Like in Hinduism, only Brahmins are the privileged class to protect the rules and the regulations and the dignity of religion. Buddha did not sort of give that answer. So we do not have privileged class in religion. Everyone is equal. So you see in Buddhist Dharma, Mahamayachi Diksha, the Diksha of Mahamaya, Diksha of Upali, Diksha of Angulimal, Diksha of Patachara, Diksha of Amrapali, Diksha of Chandalika, Diksha of Bharadwaj Brahmin, Diksha of Bimbisara king. So why Baba Sahib is bringing all these names in Buddhist Dharma? He was giving a message that Buddha never discriminate against any caste, poor or privileged. In the Sangha, you share absolute equality. As Buddha says, all rivers comes to the ocean and you cannot discriminate which water comes from which ocean. So he said to the Sangha that my Sangha is like an ocean where you lose your caste identity, where you lose your gender identity, where you lose your racial identity, where you lose even national identity. Therefore, we are equal, those who are sitting on the dais, right? Terry comes from different culture, Tai comes from different gender, I come from different gender. Whoever enters in Anna's gathering or Ambedkarite Buddhist gathering, we do not discriminate on the basis of gender, caste or nation. That's the equality Baba Sahib has given. No one has translated Buddhism in this language. When we say Buddhism, suddenly we go to the past. Suddenly we go to the ancient text or Hinayana or Mahayana, this and that. Baba Sahib did not enter into all those sectarian politics or sectarian divides on the basis of your practices. That's the absolute equality. That is my fourth answer. Who was the Buddha? That's how Buddha represented the universal equality. My last answer is the difference between history, present and future. This is very important point I wanted to make today, because I was talking to Smita Tai, I was talking to my friends. What I wanted to say, when Buddhism was revived, after immediate Diksha ceremony, Baba Sahib was asked a question by reporter. He said, Dr. Ambedkar, why did you give such a dry religion to your people? This is not going to emancipate them. There is no Buddhism in India. It only existed in the Ladakh valleys and the northeastern Himalayan foothills and in Tibet. So your religion is frozen. Why have you given such a frozen religion to your people? Baba Sahib answered back this. He said, oh gentlemen, I think you haven't read or understood the cultural and civilizational history of this nation. Not this nation, but the continent. Till Nepal, Burma, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Hindu Kush, Afghanistan, I think you haven't read those civilizational histories. I know the branches look dry to me, but their roots are so green. Only if I pour water in the Bodhi tree's root. The moment I pour water, it will flower, and the shadow of that Bodhi tree will bring the new society based on liberty, equality, fraternity, justice and self-dignity. That's what Baba Sahib answered. So, who is carrying that mug with water after Baba Sahib? You are the flowers of that tree. You are carrying that mug who should water that plant. If we don't water that plant, we will not have that shadow again, which Baba Sahib left for us. And that's so important. So, Baba Sahib is not speaking just from the history. He is not speaking just from the history. He is speaking from the future. He is speaking for the present. So when he said, की मी तुम्हाला बौद्ध धर्म दिला, पण हा डाग माझ्यावर येऊ देऊ नका की महाराणी बौद्ध धर्म पाठवला. I have given you this great gift from the history for the present and for the future. Let not my people behave in such a way where the blot will come on my coat or on me. So Baba Sahib is also speaking from the future. He is not only speaking from the past. He is also bringing Buddha from the future. I think very few, we often reduce Baba Sahib to mere constitutional or the social reformer or political leader. We never understood how great Bodhisattva he was. We haven't seen Avalokiteshvara, we haven't seen Padmasambhava, we haven't seen Manjushri, we haven't seen Nagarjuna, we haven't seen Vasubandhu, and we haven't seen any Arhatas. I'm sure there must be. But this is the Arhata we got. This is the Bodhisattva we got. And this is the modern Buddha we got. And U Chandramani said, he is a blue Buddha. So his own Guru said to his disciple that Baba Sahib is a blue Buddha. So we got that spirit from him. So he is also speaking for the future. He is also speaking for the present. And you are the privileged minds. You are the privileged hearts. You are the privileged community in that sense. Not for privileged sense, but someone you carry a treasure which rest of the world is seeking for. The world is looking for. So my dear brothers and sisters, I wish you a great Vesak. I wish you a great Baba Sahib Jayanti. I wish you a great Kabir Jayanti. I wish you all these great Savitribai Phule and all legacies you are carrying in your heart. Let that translate to the young generation, and you have to carry that for the rest of the world. I wish you all the best, and congratulations Anna, great congratulations to Anna. Thank you very much.